So our core thing has been the Zero Carbon Act, which is when we sort of sat down a few years ago and we realised that in New Zealand there has been climate politics was incredibly disunited. We had different political parties saying different things and divisive, and there was so much different debate about an issue, and there was not one unified thing. And I think it was partly because we had if you have some policy like an emissions trading scheme or some climate policy that happens at the UN, it doesn't affect people's lives, right? How does that affect my life? How does it affect me getting to work and me having a home, you know? And so the Zero Carbon Act campaign was sort of a campaign about taking the politics taking the partisanship out of climate politics and saying, you know, climate policy affects you, affects your lives, so let's build a law together that that is about everybody and that includes everybody. And it was supported by every single MP in Parliament that was present, voted for the bill, and it only passed into law 2 weeks ago, written by youth originally. So it's about saying that politics is about our futures, right? And I think a lot of people were surprised that the other parties voted for the Zero Carbon Act, but we were not surprised because, you know, youth future is about everybody. It's not a partisan thing, you know, future is about for everybody. It is incredible. I mean, we have on September the 20th this year, we had 5 or 6 or 7 million people, depending on the count. It's 5 or 6 million young people and people that supported them on the streets, you know, saying to their politicians, we want a future. And it is amazing that we have this many people mobilising, and much more importantly, it is awful that we have to have this many people mobilise, you know. We should not have to have kids leave schools to just ask for a future and to, you know, we should not, it's our politicians' jobs to work for us and to give us a future and to look after our lives, and we should not have to miss school and we should not have to leave just to ask for a future. So, and the other thing I think is that people often say that youth, you know, the youth marching on the streets is radical, but I think that, you know, what's radical is to burn fossil fuels at an ever-increasing rate and destroy the future of the world. You know, what's radical is to pretend that the cost of action is somehow greater than the cost of inaction, which is the cost of our lives, you know, which is the cost of our futures. So that's what's radical, you know, what's radical is to continue the status quo. And so I think it's about saying that we're the common sense ones, we have the science on our side, we have the future on our side. And, you know, we may only be the 20% of the world's population, but we are 100% of the future population. So, you know, we want them to get some guts. And we always talk about ambition. And the thing that I think that is the worst about COP and things like this is that we call this ambition. You know, we call the Paris Agreement ambition. You know, we call 1.5 degrees of warming, you know, wrecking 95% of coral reefs. We call that ambition. You know, drowning the Pacific. That is ambition. You know, and that is not ambition. Ambition is taking action and is peaking our emissions now and is reducing it immediately. You know, that is not ambition. And I think we need to be honest about it at COP. If we continue to wishy-wash and pretend that what countries are doing is ambitious and is enough, and to try and get negotiations and agreement, we're never going to win. You know, politicians have been negotiating my whole life. You know, I'm 20 years old. They have been negotiating for 25 years at COP. You know, and we are still no better than when we started, really. So that's why I think it is so vital that we are honest and genuine, and we don't try and wishy-wash all the time.